When I was getting ready to lay out this desk project, I was trying to decide how I wanted to join these rails and stiles together. I got I think like 5, 6 panels I need to make. Um, so I was thinking about the joinery, and I could use biscuits. I could, go traditional with mortise and tenon. However, I don't really have a mortiser, and I don't feel like, setting a router table up to cut all those. So I was debating how to do it, and then I get one of my issues of Woodsmith magazine, and it talks about loose tenon joinery. Probably best known, as a festool domino. Unfortunately, the domino is a little pricey for me. I think they're somewhere around $1,000, so it's I'd have to make a lot of discs to pay that off. So. But this talks about using a router and making a little jig. So I kind of follow directions on that. And one of the thing you buy is this bit. And it's really the key to it. Let me see if I can get it up here where it's a metal cutting bit, and it actually is let me change the. It's a metal cutting bit with 4 flutes, and it actually has cutters on the bottom of it. So if you're using a plunge router, it actually cuts when you're pushing down, which works out pretty well. These dominoes are 8 millimeter. These are 8 millimeter by 50 millimeters. So this bit is 15/16. So 15/16 is within a few thousandths of a millimeter to the domino. So what you do is you make a jig, and I'll show the router in a minute, but I use a collar on the router, and this one I'm using a 1/2 inch, and I just set it so that the width of the width is however big I want the domino to be a little bit loose in the thing, but I also got to count for the collar, so there's a little bit of room to adjust it up and down or whatever. So that's the jig. I'll show you how to use that in a minute. To lay these things out, I made myself a story stick, and because I got a bunch of legs that are all the same, actually put it the right way, got a bunch of legs that are all the same size, so I made a story stick for those. So it's worked out pretty well. I put most of the panels together. I've cut several of the holes for them, and I got one more to do in the end grain. This is actually, I bought 2 bits. This is hard maple, so this is really a test for the bit and everything to do the end grain hard maple, and it's actually worked out pretty well. I bought 2 bits. This one is the one I haven't used yet, just in case the other one didn't work out. Now I will tell you these are a little bit pricey. They're about 40 some bucks, and then it's with shipping and whatnot, it's like $55 or something like that. I'll put a link down in the comments on where I bought these things. The problem is, get it into the router. It's kind of hard to fit a 5/16 inch bit into a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch collet. So actually at Woodcraft they sell a 1/2 inch to 8 millimeter collet that'll fit inside the 1/2 inch one. So that's what I got, and it was relatively inexpensive. So, and it holds this bit pretty tight. This bit's about 2.5 inches long. I said these are 50 millimeters long. I think I probably would have gotten, changed my mind. I would have got 40 millimeter, 8 by 40. That way I would have been able to have more of the bit in the collet and not have to hog out so much on each of the mortises. So it's working pretty well. So let me get set up, and we'll cut this last one here, and then we'll cut one in the side. The side grain actually cuts very easy. It's just this in-grain one that's a real bear. So let me get set up, and I'll show you how I do that. Okay, let me show you how I cut one of the side pieces. I actually cut the other end piece, but for some reason it didn't record. So we'll do the side piece, the style. You put the jig into the vise and get the piece in there and line the center lines up. Pretty easy to do. And then just put a I put a couple of clamps on it. Make sure that the outside face is towards the fence, which it is. So do that, this on there, and then we can cut this piece. What I like to do is cut them in like 3 steps. So because the bit has cutters on the bottom, and particularly on the end grain, I just kind of like to plunge in and move over and plunge in, move over, versus trying to push down and slide it. I did that first, and it's just too hard for the cutter to cut it, and the bit tried to come loose in the collet. So now what I do is just push down, push down, push down, and then once I get that, I just clean it up, and then vacuum out the chips and rinse and repeat. So let's do this mortise here. All right, we'll vacuum this out. Adjust the depth and go again. All right, last one. And I like to run it through again just to make sure that everything's where it's supposed to be. Okay, there we go. And there's those 2 mortises cut in that piece. So let me finish up these, and then I'll show you how it all goes together. All right, I got all the mortises cut in this panel, rails and stiles. Got most of the dominoes in. What happened was I left these out in the garage, and I think they absorbed some moisture or whatever, so they go into the mortises a little tight. So I found that if I just do like a couple swipes on some sandpaper, they go in tight, but not, well, that was tight. They go in tight, but they're not too tight. So that's a pretty good slip fit. So just take and put these together. Maybe. There we go. Line everything up, because I got a little wiggle room in these things, so I made the mortises a little bit wider than the domino. There we go. Everything, because we kept the same face against the fence, everything's nice and flat. So there's a nice panel. So I want to get ready to glue those up. It should go together pretty good.